Welcome friends, traders and listeners to Old Man Wisdom. Today we're going to review the EURUSD for this week, and actually there's quite a few things that have happened and a few things to talk about, so hopefully you're going to find it interesting and follow along. So this blue rectangle here represents the start of the trading week. Today is the 12th of November 2021. So the week opened here on Sunday evening, and what I want to do before I review what's happened this week, I just want to go back to the end of last week where we had a sell signal on the Thursday. Now what happened was, you can see the arrow here, that's because the MACD dropped below the 3 pip mark and sent me a sell signal. We took it because price was below the moving average. This is the 1-day moving average, the 20 simple moving average. It's the 1 day, but it's plotted on the 1 hour chart. So this is the 1 hour chart. And last week we had a sell signal because price was below the moving average. We took it. Now the stop loss was set just above this high, which was 50 pips, my maximum stop loss that I'm prepared to risk on each trade. Sometimes it's less than 50 pips, but the maximum is 50. So on a 2-to-1 ratio, I set my take profit down here at 100 pips, so an epic trade. And what happened was price came down and we was in the money at 57 pips on the Friday. So I moved the stop loss to break even just around here. And of course what happened was, even before the week ended, we got stopped out. But what I did was I re-entered the trade. So here is a picture where we entered initially. We set our stop loss to break even. We was tapped out here. I re-entered. I set the stop loss above here again, and of course when price moved 50 pips to the good, I again moved my stop loss to break even. And this is a screenshot of where price was last week just before it hit my take profit. So a lovely trade indeed. I mentioned this on my video last Friday, that I re-entered the trade, and the reason I gave was because the stop loss is very powerful above this high, and price would have to go through the dynamic resistance level that this moving average sets. So I re-entered the trade immediately on Friday evening, and of course the market closed with me slightly in the negative. When the market opened, it rallied up, and look, the moving average did actually act as a resistance. It didn't stop me out up here. And this week what's happened is this buy signal painted on the chart, but of course we didn't take it because firstly we was in a sell trade, and secondly price was below the moving average, so we was only looking to sell anyway. So we ignored this buy signal. And then happily price dropped away this week, the middle of the week. It dropped away. Now, I did say last week that I don't normally re-enter the trade. If I get stopped out, I get stopped out and I don't re-enter. But I did in this case, like I said, because of the 2 potential resistance levels up here. If I hadn't have re-entered, I got a sell signal later this week. However, the sell signal, there's not an obvious stop loss. The stop loss would have been at least here at 60 pips, which I wouldn't have taken because my maximum is 50 pips. So if I hadn't have re-entered last week, I wouldn't have took this trade either. But as it happens, I took the risk because I was entering the trade at the same level I was in the first place. So my risk was 50 pips, exactly the same, and it paid off this time. It won't always pay off, but of course it did this time. So had I not re-entered last week after being stopped out at break even, I wouldn't have took this trade had I not re-entered, because the stop loss is too great, and my maximum risk is 50 pips. But as it happens, I had re-entered. The drawdown was a maximum of 37 pips. So I did wonder if I was going to get stopped out, but I didn't. And of course, price came down this week and gave me my 100 pip profit. And indeed, price has continued to drift away even further. So it turned out to be a super trade. I did kind of take a bit more of a risk by re-entering. But like I said, I knew that I had this dynamic resistance level from the moving average on the daily chart. And I had this resistance level up here, which is where I originally set my stop loss. So yes, it was a little bit of a risk, but for 100 pips, it was a lovely trade. So this was the first trade we've taken in just over a month. But like I say, we won the previous trade. We made a nice profit on the previous trade about 5 weeks ago. And this was, again, another lovely trade this week. So what are we looking at for the Euro USD next week? Well, obviously, price is below this moving average. And what we would like to see happen is price move back up. We want it to move back up towards this moving average. We want to see the MACD head back up towards the 0 line and then cross back under the 3 pip line, which I've plotted here in blue. And we will be looking for a sell trade next week. Now, whether price goes up high enough, we don't know. Nobody knows. Price could just keep tumbling away and we won't get any more opportunities next week. But if we do get an opportunity to trade, it will only be to sell the Euro USD next week. Now, of course, I use the MACD for entering my trades, but you might use other indicators to enter. But of course, if you do, and you are looking at selling the Euro USD next week, remember that you would like to see a nice pullback. You want it to come back up towards this 20 simple moving average on the daily chart. So if I just flick over to the daily chart, you'll see that here is the 20 simple moving average and price is below it. So you want price to be heading back up towards this 20 simple moving average on the daily chart. So if I flick back to the 1 hour chart, we want price to head back up towards the 20 simple moving average. And then of course we want to get our entry, and I use the MACD in order to do that entry signal. If you use something else, that's absolutely fine too, of course. There's no right or wrong when it comes to trading necessarily, but what I would advise is that you see a nice pullback first. So that's my analysis for the Euro USD for this week, and of course for next week too. We're looking at selling the Euro USD next week, but not before we see a nice pullback and then a signal, in my case, from the MACD. So thank you for listening. I hope this video has been of use to you. We appreciate all of our viewers here at Old Man Wisdom. Thank you so much for your attention. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please do, because there's lots of videos and information to come in the weeks and months ahead. So I appreciate all of the viewers here on Old Man Wisdom, and until next time, have a great weekend and take care.